If you're a contractor remodeler trying to scale your business and you don't want to scale it while being the bottleneck of your business, then watch this video because I'm going to go through the exact process to scale your business without chaos. And I'm going to use this graphic to show you exactly how to do that. I'm Liz Chisholm, and if you don't know who I am, I help contractors implement the structure and the systems in order to scale their business, make more profit, and grow their revenue without growing their hours or without being the bottleneck of their business. So the very first thing about growing your business is you have to think about the foundation. If you're going to go put in an addition, if you go and put in an ADU or whatever it is, the first thing that you have to think about is the structure or the foundation of the project. So here we have our foundation, and what you want to actually put in there is your standards. A lot of times when we're trying to grow our business, we actually don't raise our standards. What got you here is not going to get you to that next level in revenue. What the employees that got you here are probably frustrating you. They're probably not doing the things that you want them to do. And so therefore you've kind of lowered your standards because you don't want to lose them, and you're then falling apart with quality, and there's all these things. So you want to actually establish your current standards, which most of the time is so vague in construction businesses. And then you maybe want to raise them a little bit. What is mediocrity? What is the employee that's dragging you down? What is the expenses that you thought were going to work last year, but they never did work and they're not bringing in an ROI for your business? What are those? Like, we need to establish that standard right there. This is where leadership is going to come into place. This is where culture is going to come into place. The other day I was describing it to a new client, and I was saying your foundation and the steps that we walk through in a foundation kind of seem like you're doing nothing in your business. And it kind of feels like you're just kind of doing some stuff. Now, I have it streamlined so that way you can get it done in a couple of hours. But most of the time it's like, if a homeowner were to see you go and dig out the foundation for an ADU, they're not going to see all the work that goes into the foundation. But if you don't do that work, the house would not grow. So if you don't do the foundational work, then your business is not going to grow the way you want it to grow. And this is when you get chaos. So anytime I get a client in, the first thing that we do is establish the standards, which is also creating a lot of relief. There's a couple of exercises that I do within the standard section, and one of them is the project audit. And the project audit is literally the thing that has made my clients the most money. And so it's one of those things where it's like, yes, I need to establish the standards. Yes, I need to push the reset button on my business. Yes, I need to go through these things. And it doesn't look like I'm moving my business because I'm not creating SOPs, which we're going to get to that in a minute. But it's all these things that actually are going to help grow your business. And what happens is if you skip them, then you end up scaling your business with the chaos, and then it just makes a huge mess. So the very first thing you need to do is your standards. Now, next thing is that your standards, and when you go through all these exercises that I have, like the profit audit, and where you are in your business, and where your time is going, and what your goals are, and all those types of things, when you go through that, it's going to be very clear which pillar you do. So we have 4 pillars right here. I know it looks like I have more than that, but I have 4 pillars here, and each pillar is a part of your business that needs the operations and the systems and the SOPs within that in order to survive and in order to help you thrive and grow your business. So we have marketing, we have sales and estimating, we have fulfillment, and we have operations. So those are the 4 pillars to your business. Now, all 4 need to be running well in order for you to actually reach crazy heights. But really, just one system away, one pillar away, is all you need to get to this next level. In fact, you could focus on one pillar for the rest of the year, and I bet you would double your business. But it depends where you are the bottleneck most in your business, which one you start out first. So if you have no leads coming in, then you maybe want to start with the marketing because you kind of need some. If you're not closing that many sales, then you want to start doing the estimating. If the quality on your job site is falling apart and you can't seem to keep employees and you can't find the good subs and you end up having to jump in all the time to finish the work because you're skilled, then, well, maybe we need to start on the fulfillment side of things. And then operations is basically the structure of how everything runs. And so a lot of times people aren't looking at their numbers. They have no idea what their numbers are. They don't have a hiring process in place. They don't have a sub-vetting process. And so all of that gets lumped into here for operations. So there are 5 steps for every single pillar that you have to go through. It's the same 5 steps, but if you follow each step for each pillar, I can guarantee you'll not only double your business, but you'll probably also triple your profits, get some vacations back where you're not on your phone all the time, and you can actually grow your business. Now, the first thing that you need to do is the first S is to simplify your business. This is what I call the 80-20 rule. So when you put in the 80-20 rule, you're going to start looking at what marketing, and it could be you knocking on doors, it could be you meeting with clients and sitting down for coffee, it could be you nurturing your past clients, whatever that is. You're going to have 80% of your work focused on only 20% of the clients, and you're going to have 20% of your activities actually produce the most. This is where you're going to start cutting ad spend. You're going to cut activities. You're going to cut things that don't actually move the needle. Some people have gotten these fancy CRM systems. They're like $1,000 a month and they've never used them and they're not getting them more business. Cut it. You've got to go back to the Pareto principle where it talks about the 80-20. 20% of your actions are producing 80% of your results, and 80% of your actions are only producing 20% of the results. So we have to simplify the business and get rid of the 80%. The next thing that we do, and most people think it's systems and SOPs and things like that, but it's actually to strategize. And this is what I call really nailing in the metrics. What are you measuring in this? How do you know that it's working? What are you shooting for? Because if you don't know what that shooting for is, you're not going to have any accountability on your team, which is the one complaint I hear from contractors all the time, is that their team is not accountable. And so you want to say, okay, well, what are we actually shooting for? What are we looking at in our numbers? What should they be? What should we start measuring so that way we can actually move the needle and create the systems and SOPs that align with how we want our business to grow? Because if you're not establishing what the standard is and what the metric is and what the end result is, then there's no way to make the right systems in order to fulfill that. You've always got to work towards the end and then work your way backwards. Now, the next step is to systemize. This is where everybody go, oh, wow, I got all these SOPs and that's great. But if we don't do the first part, then we're going to start systemizing the 80%, which is only getting us 20% of the results. And then we're going to put in or forget or not even put in the numbers, and then we're going to have all these issues. So the next one is creating those SOPs. So this is like, hey, what are we doing and how are we doing it? What's the step-by-step? Who's doing what? Making sure everything's there. Now, the next step that you need to do is to focus on the sustainability of these systems. This is where I see time and time again people spending hours and hours putting in SOPs and writing them up and using ChatGPT, and nobody follows them, and 6 months later they're just collecting dust on the shelf and it was a complete waste of time and you're kind of back to square one. And so you tried to grow and then you're back down to this comfort level where you think that you can kind of survive because you're not working that many hours and life isn't that bad because you don't have sustainability in here. And so this is where I'm going to draw a calendar so that where you can actually schedule out the time where you're going to check, guess what, on your metrics. And if your metrics aren't being hit, then you go and check on your SOPs. Are the SOPs followed? Okay, yes, they're followed. That means we need to change the SOPs. This is where the feedback comes in. This is where you're actually going to be able to grow your business and bring your employees along because they can go, wow, we didn't hit our metrics, and we did this. And then you can ask them, what should we do to actually hit our metrics? And so this is going to be the number one thing that's going to help you create sustainability. It's going to create predictability in your business, which is probably one of the words that contractors feel, but don't necessarily say all the time. So once you do this, then it's now time to scale your business. Now you can do this across marketing. You can do this across sales and estimating. You can do this across fulfillment, and you can do this across operations. Everything has to start with simplifying, then strategizing, then you've got the SOPs, then you've got the sustainability, and then you can scale it. You do this across every single one of them, and I can guarantee you, you will more than hit your 2026 goals, and you'll be able to grow your business without chaos. If you would like me to do a video on every single one of these pillars and what that actually looks like and what this whole process actually looks like in each one, then just drop a comment below so I know which video to record next, and I'll see you in the next one.